There is no red, white, or blue in this country. The only color that matters is green, because we live in the United Corporations of America. Hello, Jordan Chariton, live Status Coup. It is Wednesday, January 15th, 2024, in the United Corporations of America. It is a hopefully positive day if what we believe to be a ceasefire in Gaza is actually a ceasefire. I'm going to have on a really special guest in just a minute, who we met actually at the DNC over the summer, and really spoke some powerful words about the genocide that was going on in the summer. I'm going to bring him on in a minute. I just want to give you the details as far as we know of this ceasefire. A little bit later on, we're going to be going further into our on-the-ground reporting. Jason Peters, independent journalist, and John Farina, our cameraman, have been on the ground in North Carolina covering the ongoing, let me emphasize, ongoing disaster after Hurricane Helene, where at this point, who the hell knows, hundreds of people, perhaps more, are sleeping out in tents and campers in freezing winter cold in North Carolina. As far as I could tell, Status Coup is the only independent outlet currently on the ground there. So we'll get into that more a little bit later. Please smash that like button, share this live stream so we can get it out to more people. The parameters of this ceasefire, which is being described as being in several phases. This from Al Jazeera. The first phase will last 6 weeks and will involve a limited prisoner exchange, the partial withdrawal of Israeli troops in Gaza, and a surge of aid into Gaza. 33 Israeli captives, including women, children, and civilians over the age of 50, taken on October 7th, 2023, will be released. We believe that those hostages are alive, the 33. In exchange, Israel will release a large number of Palestinian prisoners during this phase, including prisoners serving life sentences. Among the Palestinians being released are around 1,000 who were detained after October 7th. To be clear, many of those, like many of the, frankly, thousands and thousands of Palestinians that have been in Israeli prisons for years, were never charged with anything and are just languishing there with no charges. In tandem with the exchange of captives, Israel will withdraw its forces from Gaza's population centers to areas no more than 700 meters inside Gaza's border with Israel. However, that may exclude the Netzarim corridor, the militarized belt bisecting the strip and controlling movement along. The withdrawal from Netzarim is expected instead to take places in stages. Israel will allow civilians to return to their homes in the Gaza Strip besieged north, where aid agencies warn famine may have taken hold. Israeli forces will reduce their presence in the Philadelphia corridor. What happens after the first phase? Who knows? Will this Netanyahu and Trump, who's becoming president, actually honor the ceasefire? Or is this all kind of just to get the Israeli hostages back, and Trump and Netanyahu have a wink-wink deal that Netanyahu could resume the carpet bombing and genocide after they get the hostages back? We shall see. Before I bring on my next guest, I want to play a clip from the DNC of this man, a really, really amazing speech he gave at the Abandon Harris press conference. As you remember, Abandon Biden, which was a movement that began to basically say, we're abandoning you, Joe Biden. Longtime Democratic voters started the Abandon Biden movement because of Biden's blank check to Israel for this genocide. It became Abandon Harris. We covered the Abandon Harris movement their first press conference in Chicago for the DNC. Let's play a clip. This is Rizwan Samad, a longtime Democrat from Seattle, and his powerful
There's
words.
not only 40,000 women and children died. There are another 145,000 buried under the rubble. They didn't even get a chance for the prayer. The world has to wake up, and America has to wake up. Listen, we cannot be part of genocide, of killing women and children and babies. Have some mercy, have some soul. You know, how can you sleep at night thinking about it, that your tax dollar are responsible of killing innocent children just because AIPAC controlled this country? We have good candidates, moral candidates. You know, wake up, America. Wake up. For God's sake, wake up.
And joining me now is that man, Rizwan, from Seattle. You were a longtime Democrat, and you were one of many who were at that press conference. You have been out there in Seattle protesting. You are a protester for your life. You protested apartheid in South Africa and many other things. First, let me just ask you, I guess, just emotionally, before we get into the details, what does today mean for you? Because I know you have lost people. There have been people in the Seattle area, including an American who was killed volunteering in Israel. What does today mean for you?
Today is kind of relief, especially for those women and children are suffering in Gaza. They will have a peace. And for their sake, I'm very happy, very, very happy that they will get a chance to breathe. And also, I'm happy that Israelis prisoners will come back home. This war brings nothing but pain. And I just want to let you know, to your audience, Netanyahu didn't win the war. He lost miserably. The whole world hates him. Over 95% of the country in the world, he cannot go there. He's a war criminal. He bombarded, destroyed mosques, hospitals, kills doctors, killed over 20,000 babies, women, children, demolished everything. But he has still lost the war. He never won. Only thing what he did, he killed innocent civilians. He killed helpless people. He starved them. But he lost. He lost. Every single day he lost. But today, at least, is a happy day for us as an activist, peace activist, who cares about human lives, that there will not be more suffering for those women and children, parents and grandparents like me, who watch their grandkids and enjoy playing with them and thinking every single moment that their little babies and children are suffering. But, we cannot trust this Zionist regime. We cannot. They had a peace treaty with Lebanon, but they're still bombing. And we cannot trust that Netanyahu. You call Netanyahu, I call him Satanyahu. because it's Satan, you know, and he thinks he might, get the prisoner swap and then start bombing again. But I hope he come to his senses, because it's not only Palestinian people are suffering, as also Israelis are suffering. And I hope and pray that we don't have to see another day of this senseless bombing on innocent women and children and civilians.
Before before I move on to a little bit more of the details, I just want to remind people, and sorry if this gets emotional for you, but in your area, there was a University of Washington graduate, 26-year-old Aishanor Eji. Hope I pronounced that right.
Right, right.
She was volunteering with an international solidarity group, and she was volunteering there in Gaza, an American, and she was shot to death while participating in a demonstration. As far as I know, that there was an investigation or a call for an investigation by the White House, but there will be no justice for her, just like there was no justice for the Palestinian journalist who was killed a year or two ago. Just like there will be no justice for the, I mean, you said it in the original clip. Who knows how many people have died? The real number.
Yep.
It definitely more than the official number. I'd like to ask you, because we'll get to the poll later, a poll that actually came out today seems to indicate that what you and your group and other groups did is why Donald Trump is president again.
Yes.
It seems that I'll get to the poll later, but the top issue for Biden voters who voted for Biden in 2020 but did not come out and vote for Harris was the genocide in Gaza. But I would like to bring up the fact that it seems that this deal that was signed now has been on the table since at least May of 2024, before Abandon Biden was formed, before it became Abandon Harris. I'm going to read this tweet. This is from Mohammed Shahada. Just read the full ceasefire text. It's literally the same as the May 27th, 2024 one, word for word, with 6 non-substantial changes in an attached appendix. Netanyahu, Biden, and Blinken have a lot to answer for wasting 8 months of buying time for genocide. There are reports that Donald Trump, President-elect Trump, sent his, Middle East envoy to meet with Netanyahu on the Sabbath and kind of put down his fist and said, no more. I don't want to give Donald Trump too much credit. I don't necessarily trust Donald Trump, but reports are Donald Trump exerted power, told Netanyahu this needs to end, and did all the things that Biden refused to do in saying no more. What are your thoughts that today's ceasefire could have happened, nearly a year ago?
Before I jump to your answer to your question, thanks for bringing Aisha Noor, young girl. Last week, we had a blood drive in her name, in her memory. Hamid Ali, her husband, is like a nephew to me, and a University of Washington student. And then Seattle has another brave gal, Corey, who gave her life 20 some years ago. So we are keeping these two women's name alive and continue doing a lot of good works in their name. Come back to your Biden's administration. As a longtime registered Democrat since 1988, I get so saddened by the Democratic Party. They turn to be more evil, especially the Biden administration and Mr. Blinken, who was the architect of, under Clinton administration, architect of Syrian and Libyan war. Um, they thought that they can please the Zionists and then they will still win the election. So over 14 million registered Democrat did not vote it for Kamala Harris. It's a large number.
And
Thanks to
while you're saying that, let me just read the poll that came out today, because it is obviously relevant. This is from the IMEU Policy Project. They did a poll with YouGov, found that Biden 2020 voters who did not vote for Harris name ending Israel's violence in Gaza as the top issue that affected their choice not to vote for Harris. 29% of Joe Biden voters from 2020, their top issue for not voting for Kamala Harris was genocide in Gaza. That probably could have made a difference when you look at the very small margin of victory for Donald Trump in places like Wisconsin, Michigan, which Trump did not win by a landslide, Pennsylvania, some other areas. That seems like I can't say it was the defining thing, but it certainly played a big part in why she lost.
And definitely, one more thing I want to tell the audience. The mainstream media, people don't watch. The young generation stop watching mainstream media. People like you who made the difference, who speak out for voiceless people, helpless people, and is just touch millions of people's heart, is especially the young generation. Young generation don't believe in this color and racism, black, white, yellow, green, Muslim, Jew, Christian. They're much more humanitarian than older generation. And the social media played a very, very vital role. And these APAC mafia who spend over hundreds of millions of dollars spending on false information, they failed. They failed miserably. Kamala Harris has $2 billion. It spent over $156 million just in Pennsylvania. Failed. So now, especially thanks to people like you, who decided to take this fight in the studio, not with the weapon, with your mouth and paper and pencil, start writing on all the journalists around in USA and around the world. I salute to them. Because as I mentioned many times, this phrase about Albert Einstein, there's a very famous phrase, what he says 70 years ago: the world will not be destroyed by those who do evil, but by those who watch them without doing anything. So people who think they have a bomb and F-16 and F-22, they think they are powerful and they're evil. They lost today. And Netanyahu did not just accept it to the ceasefire. All his journals and everybody and the people of Israel has been saying that you cannot fight with the people who are not afraid of dying. You are just killing women and children. You cannot kill the people who are on the right side. You cannot kill the people on the right. They bomb and they killed and they killed and they killed, and they still lost. Who they killed? They killed babies. They killed women. They killed doctors. They killed elderly people. 467 days of bombing. And they still couldn't do anything. So my appeal to Israeli people through your channel: bring peace to your region. The war has no answer. Hatred has no place in this planet. Jews and Christian and Muslim have been living in that area for thousands of years. You cannot take somebody's land and cut their olive tree and kill their babies. And you will be still accepted that you will love by the world? No, people will hate you forever. You will go to Vietnam, you go to Europe, you go to Thailand, you go to Central America, people will hate you. Because you have to stand up against your own evil regime.
I'd like to also point out, and I appreciate you giving me credit, but I want to give a lot of credit to our cameraman, who is behind the camera. His name is John Farina. John Farina, for those that don't know, he covered over 100. Let me repeat, over 100 ceasefire protests since October 7th. He covered them in New York City, in Washington, D.C., in Chicago, in other cities. He covered them early in the morning, late at night. He got harassed by police. He got nearly arrested a few times, in the cold, in the heat. And we did it, frankly, when it became, a little repetitive. It was the same protest over and over again. When the rest of the media stopped covering it, I mean, they never really started covering it. He covered vile events where Israelis or Jewish people were selling Palestinian land, and he showed the world vile things that Zionists were saying to Palestinians in New York. And I think he deserves a lot of credit. He wouldn't want a pat on his back, but because it showed that even though people in America were exercising what we're told is democracy, right? We're told protest. We're told, vote. We're told go, do all these things other than violence. Even though all these people were protesting all over this country, Biden would not relent. Arguably, the only reason it happened now was because Trump's coming in. But he deserves a lot of credit because we were able to show the world that these protests were not, just a fad or some trendy thing. They went on for over a year all over this country, in New York and DC and Chicago. I also want to ask you, and by the way, it's not cheap to continue sending a cameraman to cover protests 100 times. So thank you to the viewers who are funding us. But I want to ask you, I don't want to give Trump too much credit. We shouldn't be naive here and think like all's well with the world. Right. There's, who knows what the behind the scenes deal was between Trump and Netanyahu. Some speculate Trump is going to let Israel annex more of the West Bank. Some speculate Trump is going to let Israel try and take more land from Syria or Lebanon. Some speculate after this first phase where the Israeli hostages are returned and some of the Palestinian prisoners are returned, that, Netanyahu will get the green light to start bombing again. For you and this movement, which I don't think will stop now, how do we take this to the next step and finally do something to end the occupation and the oppression, the exploitation, and what measures need to be taken outside of electoral politics?
Good question. We started as Abandon Biden, now Abandon Harris. Our group is getting bigger and bigger. A lot of people are joining, a lot of young people are joining, and we will be watching very closely what the Trump administration are going to do. Sadly, the Democratic Party failed to do what they always preach about it. I just want to mention to you, I've been doing demonstration from the college days against apartheid. We blocked the freeway on the apartheid, Black Lives Matter, Iraq War. But there's a funny thing is when we demonstrated and blocked the freeway against the Zionist regime, even though 100% Democratic state of Washington, Democratic Attorney General filed a case against 6, including me, 5 other co-defendants, blocking the freeway. It never happened in the history of the state of Washington. So I want to tell you, viewer, is I don't know who controlled. We think the Democrat control or Republican control, but I think somebody else control America with the name of AIPAC. And so we need to find good people in a group and support them to run for office, regardless of what they run for, is as a Republican or Democrat. They have to be a good moral people. They don't have to be sellout people who can sell their soul for $1 million AIPAC donation, and that's the only way we can fix the political system in this country. Otherwise, it's just going to be in a circle. They're going to blame, and now they're going to blame Republicans or Democrat or Donald Trump or this and that. But I'm just hoping that Mr. Trump, President Trump, will take a strong stand and stop sending hundreds of billions of dollars of American taxpayers' money to Israel for this senseless war. We don't have money for protecting LA fire. California gave over $600 million, their tax money, to Israel. And they don't even have enough money to extinguish the fire. And, just like they say, because of few Hamas, all these people having a collateral punishment. So a message to James Wood, you evil bastard, because of you, so many innocent people suffered on LA fires because you lived in that region. So, I'm just happy that this thing's end. And I hope I don't have to protest in 2025. We all can live in peace, and the world can become a better place, and we can focus other issues in America, homelessness, crime, other things to make this country really make better. Instead of talking all day and in the media and everywhere, suffering was going on around the world, killing, showing babies burning alive, people are dying. We need a break. And I hope and pray that President Trump will do something good. That's the only thing I can pray about it. But we cannot predict, because evils and devil and Netanyahu will do their evil thing, because they won't stop. They were not going to stop. It's like you cannot fix the devil. So,
Well, I think, to me, and this is easier said than done, the next step is very simple. Like you said, the Democrats are not controlling this country and the Republicans are not controlling this country. Groups like AIPAC are controlling this country. On healthcare, companies like United Healthcare, which we've been covering extensively, are controlling this company. On climate, ExxonMobil, on Wall Street, JP Morgan, we could go down the list. And I believe, I don't think the answer is only electorally, but we just saw across this country over the last year, millions of people were protesting. Well, if those millions of people start voting these purchased by AIPAC politicians out of office, particularly the young people, we know the most reliable voter, for better or worse, is older people. Well, if the younger people start coming out in midterm elections, in governor's elections, in I don't care what it is, county commissioner, local elections, and vote out anybody that is taking money from AIPAC, beyond electoral politics, starts organizing economic actions against companies that are supporting genocide, then they might start to pay attention, because this can't stop just with a ceasefire. Although I agree, people do need a break and do need to rest. But your final thoughts on what I just said?
No, exactly. And I'll tell you, we as in a Muslim community, we never seen before the large number of Muslims. Every single state, every single city came out and vote. I formed a Muslim Vote America just to people to register to vote. We received large number of political contribution, which we never received it before. Hundreds of young people ran for office with the name of Muhammad and Aisha or Usman, so people never seen it before, and a lot of people got elected to the offices. And thanks to young people. Locally, Melissa Chaudhry ran against Zionist evil Adam Smith, and she got over 80,000 vote, which never heard of it. Some Muslim candidate will stand up and the less than 2% of the Muslim population in the state of Washington, or less than 1%, and she got over 33% vote. So people are waking up. People are realizing that these professional politicians who are in the hands of AIPAC's pocket, they are no good. They are no good for this country. They are just a slave-minded people who are just listening to the command of their master and milking America, basically. So you are 100% right. And I would want to tell you, Jordan, people like you will make a difference. Don't undersell yourself. I promote it, and I tell my friends and everybody, start watching you. There's thousands and thousands of people. They watch, they listen to people like you, and thanks to your cameraman. I want to thank to him. I want to salute to him, because people like you and them are going to make a difference. And that was exactly Albert Einstein says. The world will not going to be destroyed by those people who do evil, but by those who watch them without doing anything. The people who are doing something. I thought I was helpless. I cannot make a difference. I thought, what I'm going to do? I went to my senator's office and I cried. I went to my congressman's office and I cried. I knocked the door. I write email. I joined protests. And then I says, no, we can do something. We have the power. We can make a difference. I start talking about join the BDS movement and stop going to Starbucks, McDonald's, Chevron, all these places. And then read a report. Oh, Starbucks lost $15 billion. We are making a difference. We can make a difference. We are not helpless. I go talk to all the young people every day, and everybody listen. And I tell them, don't buy this thing. Don't buy this thing. Don't go to this gas station. Don't eat to this restaurant. Don't eat this coffee. And people are listening. And that's how we can make a difference. We are not helpless. We have to stop thinking about that. We can make a difference. We have to have a tenacious personality, and we have to support one another. We have to find a media, a people who are doing good work. We need to support and donate to those organizations. Our penny will add up and it will become millions. But we have to be united. We have to see the difference between the evil and the good people. And if we do these things, basic, simple thing, and start talking around, we can bring peace to this world. And these politicians will start listening to us. Right now, they think we are powerless, but we are not powerless. We will add our numbers. Our numbers are growing. You know, when I used to go to demonstration 30 years ago when Netanyahu came, we were only 2 people were protesting, Jeff and I. And now in the street of Seattle, tens of thousands of young kids protest. Asian, Hispanic, African, Caucasian, all races and all color. World is changing. The politicians need to realize they don't have to sell their soul. They have to serve the people and make this country a better place and focus on local issue. So I hope.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you taking the time and your activism for probably as long as a lot of the young people protesting have been alive. So thank you. I'm glad you and your loved ones could get a little relief today. You are the vice chair of the Abandon Harris movement, and maybe, who knows, maybe pigs will fly and the Democratic Party will learn something. I doubt it. I doubt it. But, thank you, sir. Take care.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you very much.
We got 400 people watching. Smash that like button. We got a lot more to do. Before I move on to the next topic, I want to show you, because we have a lot of new subscribers. In fact, we've grown 18,000 new subscribers on YouTube already in 15 days this year. So welcome to all our new subscribers. And if you're new here, you might not know that we were on the ground. Specifically, John Farina was on the ground for over a year covering the ongoing protests for a ceasefire. We covered them in New York. We covered them in D.C. We covered them in Chicago. We covered them in L.A. We covered them in the streets. We covered them on college campuses, all over. When I say we, 99% of that was John Farina. He should get an award for his great coverage. Let's show you some of that. Status Coup's John Farina has led all journalists covering protests all across America, in New York City, in Washington, D.C., in Chicago, Illinois. We've also covered protests in Los Angeles, from ceasefire now protests to student encampments to protests outside the Democratic National Convention. Status Coup has led the way, covering what the mainstream media covers up.
The Zionist lobby is strong in America. The Zionist lobby is really strong in America, and if you're an American that cares about the United States of America, you would be worried. Why is Israel the only country on planet Earth that the United States of America unconditionally supports? I challenge one person, one pundit, one Israeli Knesset member, one U.S. congressman or woman to find another country that we unconditionally support. Why do we unconditionally support Israel?
What happened to Rafa? No more! Go to Gaza and just blow up already!
In the last 3 months, we know the Israeli government forces have killed at least 112 journalists and media workers in Gaza. And it's so important, just being the only Palestinian American serving in Congress, that I try as much as I can to have many of my colleagues and so many others to understand. We cannot continue to just talk about the numbers. Palestinians are human beings. Behind each of these numbers was a name, was a life, with a loving family and a future.
Once you start to oppose the 1%, the militarization, the capitalization, the colonization, you find that you have no democracy in this country. You end up where Malcolm and where Martin is.
That's just some of our coverage. Hell, we might even make a documentary one day because we sure have a lot of footage. So thank you to John Farina. And most importantly, thank you to you, the audience. We're not done. If there's going to be more protests, we will be there also. We were there when we were getting, 5,000, 6,000 live viewers. And we were there when we were getting 200 to 300 live viewers. We cover it because it matters and it's important. So if you're new here, please consider supporting us. It takes a lot of resources to fund and do on-the-ground reporting consistently. We also are in North Carolina right now. To be clear, we don't have any funding from AIPAC. We have zero funding from for-profit healthcare, big pharma, Wall Street, the military-industrial complex, the corporate vultures that have purchased the Democratic and Republican Party. Our funding comes from you. And if you could fund us for $5 a month, that's the lowest level you could support us at. That's 16 cents a day. We could hire more John Farinas. We could hire more reporters, which we're trying to hire another reporter right now. So please sign up, statuscoup.com/join for as low as $5 a month. I will give you a shout out while we're live. Also, we are going to do our first members call. I was going to do it tomorrow. I think we're going to hold off till after the inauguration because I want John Farina to be able to be on the call, and he just got back from North Carolina. So probably going to do it next week. Let me repeat. We're going to do it next week. So we'll give you the date once we have that. That's for our monthly members call. So if you're a new member, you'll get a link to join us on our monthly members call. It's through a program like Zoom. So sign up, statuscoup.com/join. You can become a member for 16 cents a day. All right. For those of you that have been watching, we've been on the ground in Western North Carolina covering what is eerily similar to me, to Flint, to East Palestine, and all the ongoing disasters that the media has stopped covering, that the media pretends is over. It ain't over. It is not over. And honestly, Western North Carolina right now is suffering just as bad as it did when Hurricane Helene was barreling through. John Farina and independent journalist Jason Peters have been down there for the last few days. And what you will see is that if you are in the wrong place at the wrong time in this country, and you are not in the Pacific Palisades, if you are not a certain economic class, you are not going to get the relief that wealthy people will get. You will not. If you are in the wrong place at the wrong time, the media is going to stop covering you, probably after a few days, once the flood is gone or the fire is gone. And people are nearly freezing to death, sleeping in tents and RVs without heat in 15-degree weather in the mountains of North Carolina. Meanwhile, we're sending billions all over this world, including Israel. Make it make sense. They've been doing a great job down there. I want to show you some clips and go through them. Colin, let's play one of the clips from there. Oh, by the way, we haven't even posted most of the interviews they've done. So we'll have more of their on the ground reporting to post over the next few days. But let's play the first clip.
as of now, we're still living in a tent, even with the cold weather. FEMA has been no help whatsoever. We couldn't get any kind of assistance for them. We were with 3 dogs, and we did get a hot tent from some volunteers. Thank goodness for them that has come, out of state, and you all and everybody that has helped.
So I'm assuming you guys lost your home in the hurricane.
Yes, she lost her RV, and I lost my place to live. It flooded out, but FEMA has been probably the most frightening experience I've ever had, along with the disaster unemployment people have been horrifying. I'm self-employed as a realtor, and obviously it's hard to sell real estate when you can't shower, when you can't really keep clothes clean. You're living out of a tent, and it's been 20 weeks. They haven't approved me yet on the unemployment. They've been just red taping it the whole way. It's outrageous. And FEMA's experience has been horrible. I mean, they classed me as in my landlord's household. Because
what?
He filed, and it wasn't, the house wasn't separated into units, quote unquote. So the first time they classed me as in his household, turned me down. And then the second time they finally got an inspector out in December, which I don't know what good that does. He's already redone a lot of the house. But he and his boyfriend had to move back into it, into my space down there. And and FEMA said it could be another 90 days before they, get any type of approval going on it. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I mean, I've said that to both unemployment and FEMA, that if you're, the whole point of you all is to get people back on their feet and off of the system, and what you're doing is absolutely the fucking opposite. You're keeping people on the system. It's literally designed.
Well, it sounds like they won't even let you be a part of the system. They're just leaving you out for dry.
Old school punker, what can I say, man?
Can't do nothing. They say can't do nothing, and that's all we've heard every time.
I mean, it's
Yeah, we're the richest country in the world.
I mean, it's the stars and stripes of corruption out there. You know what I mean? We're a banana fucking republic at this point. It's shit. I mean, we literally have 1% of the people with all the money.
But we are surviving. That's the main thing. We did survive the storm, but it's months afterwards. They don't realize that people are still just struggling, and they don't care.
Well, the fact that you guys are staying in a tent is heartbreaking. Yeah.
It's painful. I mean, it's cold. It's painful. I mean, it's a lot of work, and it's really hard to keep anything.
And you have dogs too?
Yeah, it's really. I've got 3 standard poodles. She's got 2 rotting Corsos, and I've got a friend who's watching 2 of my girls right now. Thank God, and one she's my heart. She won't leave my side. But you've got dogs running around the woods. It's impossible to keep anything clean. It's impossible to, I spent years in fine dining. I can go get a job at Roost Chris tomorrow, but I can't keep a uniform clean and pressed. I can't take a shower every day. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. And I submitted to FEMA my hotel vouchers, like my hotel from the, once one of the hotels reopened, I got us a room for a week. And I mean, thinking this wasn't going to be as detrimental. I couldn't get into my place for 10 days, over 10 days to get in there, because it was completely landlocked and, waterlocked. But yeah, they were screwed up there. But they haven't even reimbursed me for my hotels. They haven't done anything. I sent them receipts for all my property I own. They haven't done anything.
Besides the physical, it's okay. Besides the physical assault, that you're going through, having to stay in the tent, there's also a mental.
Yeah, how has your mental health been?
Man, it's. We argue more now than we ever have.
I mean, it's really hard to have any kind of stability, relationship-wise, life-wise, job-wise. You just can't do any of it from living out of a tent.
I mean, it destroys you. You feel like I'm 51 years old and I'm going to have to go back to waiting tables 80 fucking hours a week to get back on my feet.
You're not even in the rebuilding stage.
You're still surviving. You're not quite at the rebuilding phase.
We can rebuild if we don't have any kind of help, or we're living in our style of the tent.
What would you like to see happen for you?
Not just for me. I mean, so many people have lost so much more and through this, and it's heartbreaking to me. And I always feel bad asking for help, but it's the government. They're screwed. I mean, what I'd like to see happen is it all change. I mean, I think that the Congress should be gone. I think that we should just go to voting by our phone on issues. I think that if they're going to be there, they should be one bill, one fucking thing to say, and that's it, and do it. And one bill, one issue, no riders, no bullshit. And I think that we need younger people involved. I mean, but the fact is that if we're going to pay into the system needs to be there to help. There's no security at all in this country at this point with anything that happens to you because they just don't give a shit. When FEMA and the unemployment are telling me to go rely on private donation organizations, that's fucked. The government doesn't give a shit. They never have. I mean, when you've got it's left wing, right wing, that's all the same fucking bird, man.
Worse than people think and know, though.
Well, that's why we're out here.
They've seen it for 2 days. We've lived it for 3 months now, and it's just really hard. It's way worse than they thought.
Well, yeah, and it's still. I mean, you look around, you drive through Swananoa and stuff, and I mean, it's just debris piled up everywhere. River Arts is still debris. It's not. Nothing's being done except for by the people in the area.
Do you see any of this on CNN? Do you see any of this in the New York Times? Do you see any of this, honestly, even in other independent outlets? Left, right? Do you see any of this anywhere? The only places that I honestly see anything about the ongoing disaster that is Hurricane Helene is random Twitter accounts of random activists and random volunteers just shooting off their phones their activism and their volunteerism, and random people fighting to stop FEMA from evicting hundreds of families out of hotels into the freezing cold. I do not see the news covering it. In the few local media outlets in North Carolina that I do see covering it, they're not even covering it. They're basically just reciting what the government or FEMA tells them and checking a box. Hey, we covered it. They're not actually investigating anything. They're not actually demanding answers from, I don't know, the representatives who represent these people in Congress, in the Senate, the local state legislature. They're not demanding answers from FEMA. I mean, granted, we don't live there. We're in there. We go to places. We stay as long as we have the funding to, and then we have to leave. But every time we go there, and you'll see it in the next clips we're going to play, there's no other media. This isn't like 5 years after this happened. This is 4 months after Hurricane Helene hit. And this isn't like a few people that have nowhere to go. This is thousands of people that are in temporary, are living in hotels until their FEMA funding runs out, and then they have nowhere to go for a variety of reasons. Some of them can't go anywhere because FEMA hasn't come to inspect their home yet to sign off that they could return to their home. And it would be easy for me to just bash FEMA. There's a lot of incompetence in agencies like FEMA. There's a lot of bureaucracy, but it's also a lot more simple. You want to know what the simple answer here is? Colin, show the graphic. The simple answer is, look where our money is, folks. You see the top? Almost $900 billion is spent on, air quotes, defense. And by the way, it's more than that. That doesn't include the CIA and all the off-the-books black ops and secret, battalions and black ops troops we have. $900 billion is being spent for fake defense to give money to Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Raytheon, all the rest. FEMA's budget is $33 billion. Which doesn't go that far when there's a explosion in more hurricanes, more wildfires, drought, and many other natural disasters because of the climate inferno. Yes, MAGA, there is a climate inferno and it's man-made, despite your president, Trump, claiming there's not, and Trump not understanding the difference between weather and climate. When you have a $900 billion budget for the military, a $33 billion budget for FEMA, $11 billion for the EPA, and FEMA and the EPA go hand in hand because a lot of these natural disasters, you have environmental devastation too. And by the way, the EPA has a lot of corruption, which I've exposed over the years. FEMA does too. But this is not me defending FEMA. This is me just telling you the sky is blue and 2 + 2 = 4. These agencies do not have enough resources, do not have enough staffing, do not have enough of a reach to deal with, 5 to 10 disasters at a time, because there is the immediate acute level. There is the immediate acute level, which is the actual hurricane happening or the actual wildfire happening in real time. And then there is the aftermath. The aftermath, you need a lot more resources and staffing and aid and shelter. So, for example, FEMA, from what we've been told on the ground, has all these campers and RVs just sitting in a lot that they could be providing to the people of Western North Carolina. They're just sitting there. Dozens of them, campers, RVs. But I promise you, they don't actually have the resources to distribute them. They don't have the manpower to distribute them. So volunteers are showing up from all over the country, in some cases Canada, to come down, just good-hearted people, to provide RVs, campers, tents, propane to people who have lost their homes. How is it that in the wealthiest country on earth that we have $900 billion for the military, billions of dollars, snap your finger, for Israel, for Ukraine, for name your country, but we don't have more money to, when people lose their homes? We don't have more money when a railroad company blows up toxic chemicals over communities like East Palestine to relocate them? Of course we have the money. And by the way, we don't even need these budgets because the federal government prints money. We cover it all the time. It's called modern monetary theory. The federal government could just move a few decibels and pay for all of this. We don't actually have debt, as Alan Greenspan, Ben Bernanke, and other Federal Reserve chairs have said and acknowledge. But I like what that guy said, and that was Jason Peters, by the way. He's an independent journalist interviewing that couple. I like what he said because he told you what I've been telling you. And MAGA, if you're watching, I'm sorry to burst your bubble here, but you might be waiting for, St. Trump to come and save the people of North Carolina. You're going to be waiting a long time, because the truth is you've all been hoodwinked. You've all been suckered. Just like the neoliberals who watch Rachel Maddow and drink the blue Kool-Aid, you've taken the red pill. But the truth is, none of them give a shit about you. Trump does not give a shit about you, and Biden doesn't give a shit about you. Trump's not going to do much more for the people struggling in North Carolina. You want to know why? Colin, show the tweet I sent you of who's going to be at Trump's side at inauguration. Mr. Populist Trump? The anti-establishment Trump? Yeah, guess who's going to be sitting on the aisle behind him as he's sworn in? Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and Jeff Bezos are going to be behind him. Oh, by the way, he's raised $500 million. $500 million so far after his election, up until now, for his inauguration. And it's not coming from the people of Western North Carolina. It's coming from corporations and Wall Street. If you think this is draining the swamp, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and the other corporate Wall Street douchebags he's been appointing to his cabinet and other positions, then you need to get your eyes checked. Because it goes both ways. The liberals and the vote blue no matter who people, they live in fairyland. They believe in their blue team is there to protect them. And MAGA you've been sold a bill of goods. And if you don't like it, unsubscribe. I don't give a shit. I'm not here to feed you what you want to hear, because Trump's not going to do much more for these people nearly freezing to death in Western North Carolina. I promise you he's not. You don't have Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, and all the other, and we've done videos, by the way, on some of his appointments and who he's appointing. They're all corporate people. This is not draining the swamp. This is expanding the swamp, just like he did the first time. So stop it, that he is a populist, that he's for the average man. You got suckered. Please, again, This on-the-ground reporting is not cheap to send Jason and John down to North Carolina to pay for the flights, to pay for the rent-a-car, to pay for the hotels, to pay for food. It costs thousands of dollars just for a few days. This one trip, they're there for 5 days, going to cost us between $3,000 and $4,000 because we also got to pay, obviously, Jason and John, plus hotels, food, flights, all that. This is part of why corporate media doesn't want to continue covering these things, because they'd rather just, do things on the cheap, have pundits and blowhards in studios. It's cheaper than actually sending reporters to places to do real reporting. Part of why independent media doesn't go on the ground and cover things after the disaster, months after, because it's expensive. And a lot of independent media, frankly, are lazy and don't want to. We cover it, but it's expensive. So please, if you actually want living, breathing, let me take my glasses off so you can see the bags. If you want living, breathing, investigative, on the ground justice journalism, that's what I believe we are. Justice journalism. Sign up. What do you spend 16 cents a day on? That's what $5 a month is, 16 cents a day. Do you spend 16 cents a day perhaps on, you probably spend more than 16 cents a day for coffee if you go out to get coffee, or a sandwich, or, hey, ramen is more than 16 cents a day. All we're asking, and you could sign up, obviously we have $10 a month, $20 a month, $179 annually, but the more people that sign up at $5 a month, the more or $10 a month, the more people I can hire. We want to be able to cover a lot of these stories, not when they happen. John said to me, why don't you send me to cover the LA wildfires? I said, because all the cameras are there. I want to send you when they're all gone. And a lot of them already are gone. We don't exist to go cover it when it happens, because typically the corruption and the injustice and the abandonment of the people doesn't happen right away. It happens after. That's why I've been covering the ongoing Flint water crisis. Let me repeat, ongoing, 10 years later, 11 years now. We've been covering it because the media abandoned it a decade ago. And when the media abandons the people, the communities, whether it's in Flint, East Palestine, North Carolina, Kalamazoo, we've covered so many different stories. That's where the corruption lies. That's where the injustice lies. So please, please, please. Some of you might say, Jordan, stop asking for money. Well, unfortunately, AIPAC is not funding us. Well, actually, no. Fortunately, AIPAC is not funding us. Corporate America is not funding us. So if I don't ask you for help, then we don't go. It's as simple as that, because this stuff is expensive. Smash that like button, share this live stream. Let me show you another clip from their reporting in North Carolina.
So you live just a mile away. As you drive across this road, you see a lot of devastation near the river, anything that's near water. But then some things are completely safe, and it almost feels like there's two Asheville's. There's the Asheville that's safe, and then there's the Asheville that's in a complete emergency. Can you speak to that?
Well, and some of it, like for an example, this lot that looks good is it wasn't. I mean, we lost 65 buildings. There were 11 people found deceased on this property alone. And so it's devastating how what might look good now actually wasn't. And so, like, water went all the way across the road. And so, there are parts that may look okay, and then which they may be, and then there are some that are just devastating. And so it's going to take time. It's just going to take time.
So sorry for a harsh question here, but you said 11 people were found here deceased. The total number that the government has put out is 104, which would mean a tenth of the people that had died in the disaster would be here.
And I have 4 kids who, one of them is a coach at a local high school, and he lost, it's called Craigstown, they lost 11 family members. So the whole number, I don't believe it at all, because I know of 20 people, 20 plus people, 22 exactly. And then as the storm was coming, we visually saw several. So it's like, to me, it's like we know the truth, and we don't know the exact number. We just know that they won't be forgotten.
Well, I'm sorry for your loss, first of all. And Status Coup, the outlet that I'm here on behalf of, and myself, we have reached out to FEMA to try to get a number or the number. I don't know why it's been so downplayed in the reporting.
I don't either. I think it's just to minimize the support needed. Because, I mean, listen, I am praying for LA and all the wildfires. By no means do I wish that on anybody. I just want equal support, because they are receiving 100%, and me, who I didn't lose anything but did apply for $750, like a lot of my family and a lot of my community members got denied for that, and that was supposed to help supplement for our food loss and our gas, like the money that we had to pay for generators, and we all got denied. I mean, not all, I'm sure some people did, but I've appealed it and everything. So it's like, I just don't feel like it's the same.
So that whole interview is up, so you could go watch that. I think it was 1 or 2 videos ago. Most of these interviews are up, but a lot of them aren't. So we're going to be showing you clips from some of the interviews we haven't posted yet. But one of the things, and she's doing a really amazing volunteer thing called the Blessing Barn, where it's basically a barn of donated goods, from heat to clothes to food, where people in need in the area, mainly displaced hurricane victims, can come and pick these things up completely for free. So definitely check out that video and click on the link to the Blessing Barn. I think it's part of the Blessing Project. But what she said, and I saw somebody in the comments say, Jordan, the people in LA haven't been treated any better than the people in North Carolina. Beg to differ. First of all, you did not see the media coverage for Hurricane Helene that you have seen for the California wildfires. Full stop. You have not. You saw Hurricane Helene maybe for 2 days, 3 days. That was it. They've been covering the wildfires for going on 2 weeks now, as they should. They should. Yes, one of the areas that was hit in LA was very, a wealthier area, but that doesn't matter. They're people, and, they deserve coverage of their disaster. And there are other communities like Altadena, I think that's how you pronounce it, in California, that are not as wealthy, that have been ravaged by the wildfire. And they deserve immediate and urgent relief from the federal government. But so do the people of Western North Carolina. And as they told you, as that woman told you, and John and Jason interviewed others, many people that applied for $750, that's all you could get, which frankly is not a lot if you've lost your home, if you've lost your car, or you've had car damage because of the flooding. If you've lost your computer equipment, they interviewed people whose computer and technological equipment was damaged. What's $750 going to do? And they got denied. If there was an analysis eventually done on the people in North Carolina versus the people of California, and who got and which people were denied more from the government, I'm going to take a flying guess. I'm going to take a guess that more people in North Carolina were denied, having nothing to do with the fact that they're more liberal in California than they are in North Carolina, and more to do with their class, and more to do with the government is prioritizing the second largest city in America versus the Western North Carolina mountains. The people are getting more relief from each other and volunteers in North Carolina than they are the government. Part of it is government incompetence. I think there are plenty of good people that work at FEMA. It's not all black and white. But the bottom line is, I already showed you the numbers. We have an almost $900 billion military budget and $33 billion for FEMA. $33 billion for FEMA is peanuts compared to the cascading simultaneous disasters flying around in this country. And by the way, that's not even to mention, Colin, come on for a minute. You live in Texas. You got electric pipes freezing now during the winter. You got disasters going on in Texas. You got disasters going on in New Orleans. I mean, if a government agency is not funded, and doesn't have the staffing, doesn't have the equipment, doesn't have the technology, doesn't have the rapid response capabilities, of course people are going to be left to fend for themselves. but that shouldn't be the people. You pay your taxes, you obey the laws, you raise your kids, you contribute to this capitalist hellscape. If there is a storm, if there is a tornado, if there is a wildfire, which, by the way, is being brought on in more and more consistent and rapid volume because our government has allowed the continued burning of fossil fuels. Yes, that is the cause of a lot of this. Well, the government is the one selling out to the special interests to burn the planet. It's not the people who should pay. Let's play another clip.
Jason Peters reporting live for Status Coup. We are here in Clyde, North Carolina, covering the Hurricane Helene relief efforts and what the community has been doing. We are here with someone who has family here in Clyde and has been helping with the relief efforts. My first question for you is, how did you get involved with the community efforts? What have you been doing to help the community? And have you seen help from the local government in getting people shelter, food, and back on their feet?
I've seen minimal help from the government. I got involved by bringing supplies and a generator to my mom and dad, and seen the devastation and just kept coming back from Kentucky, bringing loads in until I could establish this.
So this street you're on, we were talking before the interview, you said almost all these houses have been left. There's not electricity running through them on either side of the road. People have up and left. Have you seen a response to that that is adequate in any way?
No, it's slow at best. The debris still piled up. It's minimal help from anybody, really. It's like Clyde was forgotten about, you know.
When you say Clyde was forgotten about, where in connection to Asheville is Clyde? Could you speak on the Clyde community and give some background for the people at home that may be unfamiliar?
So Clyde's about 22 minutes from Asheville. Asheville received quite a bit of help. The smaller community, we have more communities, Bethel, Crusoe, Canton. I mean, it's not just Clyde, there's other places as well, but, you know, I'm one person, I can only do so much.
I'm one person, I can only do so much. Pretty spot on for the response to this hurricane. And by the way, I mean, this is a story we're covering now. I mean, you could repeat this for the lack of urgency and relief for the people in Hawaii after their natural disaster a year or two ago. Puerto Rico. I mean, the list goes on and on. Hurricanes in Florida, hurricanes that ravaged North Carolina, and many other places. So we can't, you know, we're only one outlet. We can't cover it all, but these kind of things, there are so many communities that have become sacrifice zones, whether through underfunding of critical government agencies, incompetence of critical government agencies, downright corruption of critical government agencies. I've exposed corruption within the EPA many times over. So, you know, at the end of the day, we got to figure out, because it's not just a left or right thing. This is happening in communities that vote Democrat, in communities that vote Republican. Flint, hardcore Democrat. East Palestine, hardcore Republican. This area, pretty hardcore Republican. Kalamazoo, where I've covered a paper mill, a multi-billion-dollar packaging company, literally gassing a poor black community, Democratic area. So it doesn't matter, Democrats, Republicans, doesn't matter if the president's Democrat or Republican, the governors. In this case, we've spoken with people who said local counties, which were Republican, had so much red tape to get tiny homes approved for people that lost their homes in the hurricane, to get, you know, RVs or, you know, certain areas approved for people to move into. And it was the county government providing the red tape. Then when the new governor came into North Carolina, Josh Stein, happens to be a Democrat, all of a sudden, all that shit sped up and a lot of the red tape went away. So in this case, you got a better result from a new Democratic governor. But there's been many cases before that we've covered where a Democratic mayor or a Democratic governor were horrible and did nothing for the people. So this is not like hey, put on your blue hat and you'll get better results, or hey, if we have somebody on the red team there, you'll get better results. Bottom line, our government's priorities are not you, the people, unless you're very, very wealthy. If you're very, very wealthy and you've had a natural disaster, you'll do far better. But even then, they might screw you. I want to play one more clip. This is a local politician Jason spoke with, a local county commissioner in Haywood County, describing this red tape that I'm talking about.
I'm standing right here with County Commissioner Terry Ramey. Terry, you have taken us up and down. John, if you want to show right behind us, we have a sheltering group with RVs, campers, and you could also see a lot of the debris that washed up. You said that this river has doubled in size. Could you please speak to us about what has happened to this Clyde community?
Well, it just devastated the people that live here. You know, a lot of them were flooded. All these houses on both sides were flooded, and we're trying to get everybody in campers or something, you know, keep them warm. And
how many of its residents are in temporary housing? Either we'll talk specifically hotels, motels.
As of Monday at our commissioners meeting, I think they reported to us that there were 212 families, which is 1.1 or 2.1 people per family, I think is the way they figure it.
So around 200, 300 people.
Well, about 400 people, because there's 212 families.
Mm-hmm. And is there a plan for where they will go post hotel, post motel? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's what we've got to figure out. What we're going to do with these people. FEMA hasn't. We've turned in a lot of not surveys, but we've turned in a lot of different properties that we thought would suit FEMA, and they've not returned the people's calls back that have the properties.
When you say that, what are some of the requirements for FEMA sheltering people?
Well, they have to have a place that's got water, sewer, and electricity, and a good road into it is some of the stipulations before they'll even look at the properties.
And have you found places that meet that criteria?
Yes, sir. I think the county's turned in several different sites, but FEMA hasn't gave us an answer back yet.
How has your correspondence with FEMA been throughout this process?
Well, when it first happened, I saw them everywhere. And they were in here a whole lot helping, and they've had somebody here the whole time trying to take applications and all that stuff. So they've been here a whole lot, but we're trying to figure out what's going to happen now. Now people still, when they come out of these motels, in my opinion, they're still going to have the same needs they had when they went into motels. My position is, I feel like if they'd spent some of this money and went ahead and built some of these locations to put these FEMA homes on, we'd be ahead of the game right now by having the FEMA trailers already here. Because now we're still starting, we've not got no I think they've got 5 campers in here right now with FEMA, but we've not got none of the FEMA trailers or nothing in yet.
Wait, FEMA has 5 campers in all of Clyde?
I think Haywood County's got. I asked the FEMA representative at our meeting on Monday, and he said they had 5 campers set up in Haywood County, FEMA campers.
Because we just interviewed someone, and if you're watching along with this at home with the Status Coup coverage, the man who was anonymous, who we just interviewed in Clyde, he had more than 5 campers on his property alone.
Well, that's volunteers bringing those campers in. We've had volunteers bring camper after camper after camper. Well, all these campers you see are volunteers that have brought them in, and we've had campers from Canada, Arizona. We've got campers from many, many miles away, and it's been volunteers that donate.
So that's a local county commissioner in Haywood County, which is in North Carolina. I mean, there's been aerial shots where FEMA, they have a lot with what looks like dozens, if not hundreds, of trailers that displaced people could be living in, but they're just sitting in like one centralized lot. I couldn't tell you why they're not being distributed, why, as that commissioner pointed out, why they're not building, these campers. Obviously, the goal is to get people into permanent housing, but that's, going to take a while to rebuild, get damaged homes back to code. So why FEMA is not providing those campers and why it's relying on volunteers from Canada boggles the mind. I don't think it's any one thing. Some people want to just say FEMA doesn't give a shit. They don't care. Other people want to say it's just incompetence. I think it's more than just one thing. I think it's they don't have the funding. I think they don't have the staffing. I think there's a shit ton of red tape. I think there's issues between the federal government. One hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing in terms of the federal government versus county government versus local government. You can't have this level of bureaucracy and mess in the wealthiest country on earth. And you can't have, again, I believe in modern monetary theory. We have enough money to pay for all of it. You don't need to, take money from this. You don't need to, I think we should cut the military budget just morally, but even with the bloated military budget, we could provide more money for hurricane victims. We could provide a lot more money for healthcare. The government prints money. All you got to do is move a decimal point or two. But at the end of the day, why this is important, we have a corporatized media system in this country. And that's one of the biggest scandals and corruption that doesn't get a lot of attention. Our media has been purchased. That's why you only see media coverage like they parachute in and out. And I'm not like we parachute in and out because that's all we can afford. But CNN has the resources to keep people in places like North Carolina to cover the aftermath of the hurricane for a year if they wanted to. Same thing with Flint, East Palestine, elsewhere. The New York Times, plenty of resources to stay on these stories, to investigate, to dig, to demand answers. They choose not to. And that's why these disasters, the media then creates the narratives that it's shifted to recovery. Does this look like a recovery to you? This looks like an active disaster to me. When it's 15 degrees and windy, that could be deadly to be sleeping out there if you don't have enough heat. We were live yesterday. Jason and John were live covering a propane drive. It's not the government providing the propane. It's volunteers providing the propane to keep people's tents warm, keep people's RVs warm in the winter. It's just crazy. Like I said, we're going to continue to be posting Jason's interviews from North Carolina, focusing on FEMA, focusing on the need, focusing on displaced residents, focusing on the lack of government action and other things. So definitely keep coming back. We'll be posting them as we go over the next few days. We're also covering a protest tomorrow morning. It's a little early, so we're not going to go live. We're going to record it. If you don't know, United Healthcare, which I've been covering extensively here over the last month or two. Their CEO obviously was killed, allegedly, by Luigi Mangione. Well, they're releasing their 2024 profits tomorrow. So we're going to find out tomorrow how much profit United Healthcare made in 2024 and specifically in the final 3 months of 2024. So there's going to be a protest on Wall Street because Wall Street is investing in for-profit predators like United Healthcare and other for-profit predators. We're going to be covering a protest on Wall Street tomorrow morning. We'll record it, try to turn that footage around as quickly as we can. As you can see, folks, we're doing a lot of stuff outside of the studio. We don't just sit here and bloviate. If you are not yet a Status Coup member, I kindly ask you, I am not beyond begging. I'd rather beg you than a billionaire. I'd rather beg you than United Healthcare or Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan or Pfizer or any of the vultures. If you have $5 a month, that's all I ask, $5 a month. You can support us at higher levels, but if you got $5 a month, sign up. StatusCoup.com/join. If you have signed up as a member on YouTube, that's fine. If you want to be a member on YouTube, you could do that. But we do ask you, if you signed up on YouTube, if it's not too much of a hassle, Cancel your membership on YouTube. Sign up on our website. Because YouTube, if you sign up on YouTube, we don't have access to your email on YouTube. And YouTube takes a significant cut of your membership, of course. If you sign up on our website, we get your email. We're not going to just email you every day begging for money. We don't really do fundraising emails that much, but we want your email so we could tell you when we're live, tell you when we're live on the ground, tell you about when we're doing a members call. We're going to do our Status Coup monthly members call, which is through a program like Zoom next week. So please support us. If you'd rather just keep it on YouTube, that's fine. But if you don't mind taking that extra step, cancel on YouTube, switch over to our website, statuscoup.com/join. I know a lot of people don't want to, take that extra step or two, but it makes a big difference to have it on our website. So that's statuscoup.com/join. You can become a member for as low as $5 a month. Shout out to new Status Coup member through our website. Deandra signed up, so I very much appreciate that. Deandra also got a couple donations here. Thank you, Myung Jin. I hope I pronounced that right. $5. Thank you. $20 donation from Christian. Thank you for getting up every morning and doing what needs to be done despite the enormous resources so unjustly pitted against you. What's right isn't always popular, and what's popular isn't always right. Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? And YouTube and other platforms and other big tech platforms rig the algorithms so they push substanceless artificial conflict just bullshit, hot takes, Joe Rogan, Ben Shapiro, people fighting with each other. They push those videos, so that's what becomes popular, and they hide, for the most part, substantive reporting. Thank you. $200 donation from Rizwan. Thank you so much. He wrote, thanks for doing actual humanitarian work. Thank you. $200 goes a long way. Thank you. That's very generous. $20 donation from William. Red Banana Green wants to know why you started your channel in case you missed it in the chat area. Why we started this channel? Because there is an alternate reality that the corporate media has painted in America. What you see in corporate media is not what's actually happening on the ground. So we created this, not just this channel, this organization, this company, this what I believe is a media movement to cover and expose what the corporate media covers up. Because I believe based on being on the ground for the last almost 10 years, 9 years now, I have interviewed thousands of people. I've interviewed liberals. I've interviewed conservatives. I've interviewed libertarians. I've interviewed atheists, anarchists, and everybody in between. I believe most people in this country, believe it or not, are not lacking compassion. Most people are not in support of corruption. Most people are not in support of injustice or exploitation. You'd be shocked. Most people have no fucking idea what's actually going on. They don't have time to do research. They're working more than one job. They're raising kids. Most people are severely underserved by the corporate media and their local media. So that's why we started this channel, to cover what the corporate media covers up. Hopefully that answers your question. Super chats. Ethan, $5. As a wildland firefighter, all the insane lies and propaganda circulating really burns me. Thank you for what you do, and you're fighting the fires, and there is a lot of propaganda going around. Anna became a YouTube member. Thank you, Anna Rocha. Really appreciate it. Teresa, 273, $10 super chat. Thank you. Thank you, Jordan. Keep on it, she said. Paul, $10. Your coverage is great, Status Coup, on the ground, real people. Thank you. I like the idea of a documentary or two. If you don't know, we did a documentary last year on the ongoing Flint water crisis. You could watch that documentary. It's called Flint Fatigue. At flintfatigue.com, we made it free. Flintfatigue.com to watch that documentary. Nas became a YouTube member. Thank you, Nas. Anna Rocha became a YouTube member. Thank you. All right, folks, thank you for watching. We will continue to be rolling out our coverage from North Carolina over the next few days. Again, we're going to be covering a protest on Wall Street tomorrow morning as United Healthcare reveals its billions in profits for killing you, the American patient, and screwing you, the American patient. And we got a whole lot more planned. Thank you for your support. We'll see you tomorrow.